guys, and welcome to another edition of the Halo Jumping Top 10. As always, I am your host, Hunt Unit 751, and joining me for this episode, we have a new face on the top 10. It is Flame-osaurus, or Flame Vortex, if you prefer. How are you doing, Flame?
I'm tired, but I'm feeling pretty good.
Tired but good. Excellent. That's probably how a lot of us feel. Now, Halo 5 has been a real opening for a lot of people. We've seen a huge group of new faces come into the community. Some have come and gone. But also, amongst that, we've seen a huge opening when it comes to the Forge in this game, with all kinds of new unique obstacles and all kinds of ingenious ideas and concepts. And that, naturally, has led to the birth of a wide variety of new jump courses, probably more than we have ever seen before. Without a shadow of a doubt, easily the best of these new courses that have arrived since Halo 5 began has to be role-playing Garchomps, Spartan Sasuke. Or,
Sorry,
well,
Chumpy.
Hello nerdies and nerds, and welcome to the inaugural tournament of Spartan Sasuke.
We wanted to join in with the fun here on Halo Jumping Top 10 by doing a episode specifically about Spartan Sasuke, and that is the top 10 Spartan Sasuke moments. So the most iconic moments in the course's history. I've picked 10 that I think are the 10 biggest in the course's history, and I've asked Flame to compile a list, and we'll talk about it, I guess.
Well, I feel like every tournament has had at least one or two, like, really good moments. So it was pretty hard to, like, decide the order that I was gonna put these in. But I feel like I've made a pretty decent order, I guess.
Yes, and we'll go through them shortly. But first, let's look at the 10 that made the list. In chronological order, we have Buddy Jumps becomes the first competitor to reach the final stage in Spartan Sasuke Tournament 2. Double Ump becomes the first Grand Champion in Tournament 4. Swan, or Spartan Sucks, is the only competitor to beat Stage 1 in Tournament 6. Vulcan and Double Ump make it to the final stage in Tournament 7. Smokey Massacre becomes the second Grand Champion in Tournament 8. A record 3 competitors reach the final stage, with Smokey becoming the first ever 2-time champion in Tournament 13. Atlantic Champs final stand in Spartan Sasuke Tournament 14. Swan's retirement run sees the end to the most brutal tournament and the most brutal Stage 1 in history in Spartan Sasuke 15. Hunter Unit 751's comeback run in Tournament 17, and record-breaking performances which culminate in Chumpy making it to the final stage in Tournament 19. A wide variety there. There were some moments that I did look at that missed out. I did make one rule I was only going to put one moment in from each tournament. So if I hadn't, let's just say that Swan's Stage 1 fail in Tournament 4 might have been on this list. I also will give one quick shout out, because it might be the only shout out he ever gets here, which was one of the other moments I did look at, was when Talking King beat Stage 1 for the first time ever in Tournament 10. I know that was a big moment for ROG and for the people that were there to watch it, because to see a guy like Talking King beat Stage 1, and then he went on to do it a few more times, I believe. That was a pretty sweet moment. But we do have the 10, and Flame, I'm going to ask you just to list, and then we'll go into detail. Just list off your 10 to 6, starting from number 10.
Okay, so my number 10 is Swan's Stage 1 failure ending Tournament 15. But I really didn't have to say Stage 1 failure because it was obvious. Number 9, your comeback run in Tournament 17.
Yep.
Number 8, Chump's last stand in 14. Swan being the only Stage 1 clear in Tournament 6. And number 6, Tournament 19 / Chumpy making the final stage.
Okay. Yeah, well, I guess we'll start at the bottom. Number 10, the Bloodbath Tournament. I guess the first thing I could say in terms of myself is that I was kind of a bit of a bitch. Maybe not a bit of a bitch. I was kind of a bit of a dick here. Because I decided in the end not to compete in this tournament because I just didn't want to put myself through having a Stage 1 failure on a course that I personally felt was near enough impossible. But Flame, you can explain what it felt like.
Yeah, coming into the tournament, I know that some people had hope of clearing Stage 1, and I think we're still looking for them. That's what I'll say. And,
did you, at any point during your practice, did you think you could beat that Stage 1?
No, I didn't even get past the flying chute once. I had no chance.
Yeah.
Only 2 of them beat the obstacle. Only one other person, me, even landed on the net part of the obstacle.
Yeah. A 3rd place for Flame in that tournament. So that would constitute a good tournament if obviously Stage 1 wasn't the hardest Stage 1 in history.
Yeah. Like, outside of Abs and Spartan Warrior, that I don't think anyone would disagree saying that's the hardest Stage 1 in Halo jumping history.
I mean, I wouldn't argue. I would argue, because obviously the big thing about Abs is obviously the one attempt and you don't really get to practice. And I guess it's the same thing with Spartan Warrior. I would honestly just go completely out of the way and say that is one of the hardest, if not the hardest, ever Stage 1 we might ever see on a major course. Just to take out every single person.
Yeah, and I feel like Swan's run being number 50, like, with the profile in ROG explaining his, quote, failing health, even though I won't go into detail about it, but even though Swan's condition was not life-threatening in the slightest, just even with that, it was pretty obvious from the profile that he probably wasn't going to clear. So him failing it and just capping off the tournament with no one clearing Stage 1, and combined with how much time was left in the video, it was pretty obvious that he wasn't going to clear. You were going to see everybody fail the stage.
That's one of the advantages of the premiere, at least.
Yeah.
Is that we wouldn't have known. Yeah.
Along with getting your ears destroyed for 2 minutes.
Yeah. I guess the only other thing I would say apart from that is fair play to Longshot for doing as well as he did.
Yeah, good job to him.
He's the only person that could come out of that with, genuine happiness with how he did with his run. Which brings us on to number 9, Tournament 17, my run. Now, for anyone watching that's wondering why this is on the list, I just want to say, yes, I did pick the list, but in Rog's own words, best comeback of all time on his course. And for me as a competitor, it was a great feeling beating that stage 1 after so long, and then getting to where I did.
Just seeing anybody just fail for that long and then finally just pushing through, putting it all together, and not only clearing stage 1 but clearing stage 2 as well. And but I think what made it even more special, I guess, was comparing it to the other course, the other of the big 3 courses that you can actually compete on, Halo Ninja Warrior. Seeing you clear to stage 19 tournaments in a row, and then just comparing that to your struggles on Spartan Sasuke for so long, it was almost night and day.
I didn't expect it to go on for as long as it did. I've always said that I should have definitely beat stage 1 in 16 before I had that hilarious fail. But, you know, that just pumped me up for 17, and then when it all came together, I just let it out with that brilliant line after I finished. I think I'm right in saying you were there for at least the stage 1 run.
I think so.
Yeah, it was just a great tournament. Probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite of all, in terms of my individual performance. So number 8, Atlantic.
Yeah, that was very, very impressive, especially considering how, like, only 3 people beating stage 1, just being one of those 3 alone, like, even if he failed stage 2, I still think tournament 14, them beating stage 1, might have been able to be good enough to get on the list. But seeing just the one person being able to survive stage 2 just made it even more impressive, I think.
Yeah, I think, and obviously he didn't let himself down. You know, he at least got to the cliffhanger, which would probably have been his target anyway. You know, I think that's most people's targets whenever they get to a stage 3 on one of the major courses. They'd like to say, oh yeah, you know, get to the cliffhanger because it's the staple obstacle. But, you know, he did at least get there. So he didn't end up having a shameful stage 3 run or anything. It's not like he got there and then he went out on the first obstacle. But yeah, I think this was probably the tournament that put Chumpy on the map and was the starting point for him having a great run of success, some of which we'll get more into later on. Although one thing, well, the only negative I would say to Chumpy's success in that tournament is that it denied us a Talking King first place finish, which would have been an interesting.
I would have
thing
retired.
To...
I would have sold my Xbox.
Great run, Talking King. Great tournament.
Yeah, I miss you, buddy. We all miss you.
Anyway, number 7, the pre-Chumpy. I know who'll love me for calling him that. The pre-Chumpy, Swan, tournament 6.
The way I see it is that not only was it similar to tournament 14, just happening earlier time-wise, it was also basically everything that happened then, just one stage earlier. I feel like it being stage 1 made it almost simultaneously more and less impressive, I guess, in a way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was gonna say because it sort of we saw just how impressive Swan could be because he was the only person obviously to beat stage 1. Fun fact though, it is still Swan's only first place finish on Spartan Sasuke in that tournament.
It being a stage 2 failure.
I don't know. It's an interesting thing. That stage 1, for a long time, I thought that was going to be the toughest stage 1 that ROG ever had before tournament 15 rolled along.
How naive we were.
Yeah, I personally, I don't look at the negatives. I see it as just a great positive for Swan. The fact that he was able to stand out, and it showed that he was one of the top guys on the course at that point, and then continuing onwards.
Yeah, plus, and it's just fun in tournaments when you just see, like, absolute bloodbath stages, but they're still anywhere from like 1 to 5 people, I can just persevere through it.
Yeah. Bit
Yeah.
like my tournament 19 with with you being one of the successors.
Yeah, I like that tournament.
So I guess tournament 6 is we now rolls into number 6 from tournament 6 with the complete
Which,
opposite, which is just a bloodbath of success. Tournament 19. It's not just specifically. Specifically, it all culminated in Chumpy being the last man standing on stage 4, but the moment stands out for me for the unbelievable amount of success throughout the whole tournament, from stage 1 all the way through to stage 4. Just talk me through what it was like for you, Flame, in that tournament.
Well, for me, I knew that it was going to be the last Halo 5 tournament, so I really, really, really wanted to make it count. So I decided to go super tryhard mode, which that's probably an understatement. And I did that for 2 weeks leading up to the tournament. I ran the first day, and in hindsight, I think if I waited a little bit more, I could have gotten to the final. But the fact that I finally just beat the cliffhanger, it made it all worth it. Like, I was sad that I didn't make it, but even though I didn't join Chumpy on the final, I still am really proud of that performance. And I think that most other people in Tournament 19 should be proud of their result. I mean, like, 17 Stage 1 clears, that's a record. Then 8 Stage 2 clears, that's also a record. And I think 4 people, I think it's a record for getting to the second half of Stage 3. Actually, I'm not sure, I don't know.
Not sure, actually. That is an interesting question. Rock,
Yeah.
let us know in the comments if that's accurate. It was it was just a record-breaking tournament and a huge variety in the competitors. We had a ton of people that beat stage 1 for their first time. 2 of whom got to stage 3. Sonic getting to stage 3, which was great because he hadn't even been there that long, and already he was taking on stage 3. Puma
that was
and
personal best.
Puma and Weapon Mac came back, and they both made it. They both made it past stage 1. Puma obviously got to stage 3, and all of that eventually then led to Chumpy being the first person to get to the final stage in that era, the current era, which I guess was just a combination of everything that had started back in Tournament 14 up to that point. Now he found himself on the final stage.
Yeah, and it was without question the biggest crowd for any run on any major Halo Jump course ever.
I think we had all 16 spots filled up. I think it was Chumpy on the final, Rog in his little tower, and then 14 people stuffed into a box watching the run. Yeah, it was just a great, great tournament. And for now, it looks like a great way to finish off Spartan Sasuke on Halo 5. Okay, which brings us on to the top 5. Again, Flame, just list me your top five from 5 to 1.
Okay, so number 5 is Tournament 7 with Vulcan and getting to the final stage. Number 4 is Buddy getting to the final stage. Number 3 is Smokey's first total victory. Number 2 is Ump's total victory. And number 1 is the Tournament 13 final stage, with Smokey getting his second total victory. Excuse me there.
So, number 5, Vulcan and Ump on the final stage. Polar opposites at the time, almost, because you had a guy that had never beat stage 1 before, that got all the way to that point, alongside the reigning champion.
Yeah, I didn't know if I should put this at the top of the list or the bottom of the list, but still, seeing people get to the final again after it had been several tournaments, especially with one of them being the reigning champion, everything about that moment was just very climactic in a way, I guess.
Yeah. It was the first time seeing the final stage. You had a guy, like I say, you had the reigning champ. You know, could he do it again? Then you had a guy that had just come out of nowhere in that tournament, had the tournament of his life. Something that, I mean, I want to say has almost never happened on a major course. Yeah, and did, got to the top, if I'm right in saying. Obviously, he was out of time. But
Yeah, they both got to the top.
yeah, I think it was just it was even in a way. I guess that was the starting point for Vulcan, the success he would end up having on Spartan Sasuke and on other courses.
Yeah, it's always fun seeing a breakout tournament.
Which I guess brings us down to number 4, a guy that we've definitely spoken about on a couple of these top tens before, for all the great stuff that he's had. Buddy jumps. It really says a lot that if someone watches Spartan Sasuke for the first time, like watches all 19 tournaments, and they then look at the stats and it's like, okay, first person to ever get to a final stage, Buddy. Because we obviously know how great Buddy is as a jumper, but at the same time, it just feels odd that of all the people to be the first to get there, it's Buddy.
Yeah, because he's only, I think he only competed like once or twice outside of that tournament.
He was only in tournament, apart from tournament 2, he was in tournament 4, and that's it.
Oh.
Yeah. But it showed. I guess it does. Yeah, it does show just how good he could be if he turns up and puts on a good run.
And it also showed off his mongoose ability, getting through
Yeah,
that stage 3.
Yes, I do wonder if even though he put himself through that, I wonder if it was the mongoose third stage or the clamber final stage that put him off coming back.
Probably a bit of both.
It's still a run for the memory books, you know. It's a run. It's a run that it's in the record books. It's in the stats. The first person ever to do it. Nobody can ever take that away from him.
Yep. Even though one could argue, like people could argue that the course was so easy back then. Well, at the same time, jumpers now are so much better than jumpers were like at the start of Halo 5. So it's sort of about like the same difficulty in proportion from back then to how it is now. So I don't think that takes anything away.
Speaking of first successes, we have Smokey Massacre's first total victory in Spartan Sasuke 8.
Yeah, that Tournament 8 overall I think was fun. And the final stage was probably the most fun part of it. Because you had Smokey getting total victory, and Fireball was there as well with probably the greatest interview ever. Yeah.
It's easy to forget that I imagine a lot of people probably forget that Fireball made it to the final stage in that tournament.
Yeah, his interview is like taking more precedence than his actual attempt at the stage.
Yeah. But I guess Smokey, just once again showing just how great he could be. But at the same time, that it was also in a way a comeback because he'd had 2 really bad performances prior to that, and people were wondering, is he putting in the practice, or is it just not going for him right now? Are we seeing that Smokey's maybe declining in jumping, and then he just shows up and absolutely destroys the course?
Yeah, that was very, very impressive from Smokey to be able to just bounce back from 2 early stage 1 failures. Especially with the jumping spider one in tournament 7, I think.
Yeah.
With that being arguably his most embarrassing failure ever on a jumping course.
Flame's calling it.
I said arguably.
Arguably, yes. Sorry, yes. Taking that word arguably, Smokey.
Yeah. I mean, you can make the case that it's not even his most embarrassing jumping spider failure.
Well, you know what? If we're going on if we're getting on the train of embarrassing Smokey, I'm just gonna say spider flip. Who said that?
The spider on the wall, because we've talked about spider obstacle names.
Yes,
a bit.
Smokey has a phobia of spiders, confirmed on jumping courses. So I guess from one total victory to another, double ump, the first person to get total victory in tournament 4.
Yeah, I feel like in a lot of cases, the first time you do something, or the first time something happens, most people will say is the best. And I can certainly see why people would think that for Ump's total victory, because everything about his run in Tournament 4 was just very clean, very just dominating. And it was also more impressive by the fact that Stage 1 in that tournament was probably the hardest it had ever been to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there was only 6 Stage 1 clears in that tournament.
I think there was also only 6 in Tournament 1, but then again, that was the first tournament, and nobody really knew what they were getting themselves into then.
But yeah, I think you're right. That Stage 1, probably the hardest it had been, and Ump was one of the 6 to do it. Stage 2, he got the job done again, same as he did in the previous tournament. Stage 3, honestly, as from the minute I saw that stage in tournament 1, I always knew if there's one person that's built for this, it's Ump, because I knew from previous Halo games just how good he is at a mongoose. Yeah, he just dominated that stage 3. And then the final stage, I was there for that run. He'd obviously had the experience from Tournament 3, so he knew what he had to do. It still didn't even look like he was going to do it in Tournament 4. But then he picked up the pace just enough. We had a nail-biting wait because it had gone right to the wire. And then I can always remember Rog just started screaming, which was enough of a hint for us to know that he'd done it. And yeah, it was just a great moment, not just for the course, but for Ump himself, because this was, for him, at long last, a total victory that had been, I don't even know, when did Tournament 4 happen? 2016, I guess? So
yeah, I think so.
That's like 7-8 years in the waiting for Ump since he first got into Halo jumping. That's just, a great moment for him, and I'm just glad I was there to watch it, to be there with him to watch it, and I got to see the throne as well, which is pretty cool. Which brings us to number 1, Smokey Massacre, Tournament 13. I'm not gonna lie, you at the very beginning said you felt like there was moments in every a couple of moments in every tournament, which stood out and were memorable. I was really struggling to find moments in Season 3 between Smokey's first total victory and his second total victory. The courses, they were tough. They stood out. There was a lot of different people having success, but again, no one was just able to take that little step. And then, out of nowhere, we don't just get one, we get a record 3 people get to the final stage in Tournament 13, and then another record broken with Smokey's success. So talk me through the 3 competitors first, having those 3 get to the final, and then Smokey's becoming the first two-time grand champion?
So, Swan, he has said that he was just getting burned out on jumping around that tournament, so he decided to just go ultimate full send on the practice, like as an all or nothing. And that worked out for him in him getting to the final. And although he wasn't the person to win, still getting to the final stage, no matter the course, no matter the difficulty of the stage before, is still a really big accomplishment.
I think the thing, honestly, about all three is that they were the big three. They were the three best competitors on the course across the 13 tournaments up to that point. So to see all three of them on the final stage was just the ultimate showdown, in a way.
Of ultimate destiny.
Yeah. And then I guess it was just, a great comparison. You had two grand champions. Almost did it. And then Smokey, who not only did manage to do it, but absolutely managed to crush it. With 3 seconds left or something?
Yeah, I think like 3.5.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk me through what you think. Why have you put it at number one? Is it because it's the ultimate that no one's ever done before? A two-time grand champion.
Yeah, there's part of that, and the fact that 3 people would end up getting there after the 4 tournaments previously. Nobody would get there, so I feel that made it even more impressive. And then people see that final stage for the first time, and it being arguably the hardest final ever at the time, and then just seeing somebody just destroy it first try, and it being their second win for Smokey, I just decided that I felt that it just barely edged out Total Victory as being the number one moment in Spartan Sasuke history.
Yeah. Because, like I say, you acknowledge, you think, the first success, obviously it being is usually more memorable. But, as you say, the record-breaking performance of seeing someone step up and do it first try, absolutely crushed it, and to become a two-time champion. Yeah, I think, in my opinion, definitely the best moment I've seen so far, just as a collective on Spartan Sasuke. And who knows? It'll be interesting to see if anything can eclipse that. But that is for the future, guys. I'm sure we can all look forward to more Spartan Sasuke tournaments in the future on Halo Infinite. But until then, that's the end of this top 10, guys. I guess all that's left to do is just flame very, very quickly. Once again, give us your final list in full from number 10 up to number 1.
Yeah, so number 10, Swan ending tournament 15. Number 9, Hunter's comeback in tournament 17. Number 8, Atlantic champ / Chumpy being the sole survivor of stage 2 in tournament 14. Number 7, Swan being the sole survivor of stage 1 in tournament 6. Number 6, basically all of tournament 19, with a spotlight on Chumpy making the final stage. Number 5, Vulcan and Ump's final stage in tournament 7. Number 4, Buddy's final in tournament 2. Number 3, Smokey's first total victory in tournament 8. Number 2, Ump's total victory in tournament 4. And number 1, Smokey's second total victory in just the final stage in general in tournament 13.
And that is it, guys. If you guys want to leave your version of the list, let us know in the comments below if it's the same 10 or if you put something else in. Again, leave that below. Rog, I'm sure you'll watch this and we'll put your own list in. We'll see. But until then, if you aren't subscribed to Rog's channel, which I'd be very surprised if anyone watching this video isn't, then go check it out. Click on his channel from the comment that I'm sure he will leave down below. And yeah, that is it, guys. Flame, I hope you've enjoyed this being here.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, Flame's going to go back to sleep now. Until then, we're going to finish by leaving you my version of this list. And I guess we'll see you guys again next time for another episode of the Top 10 very soon. Goodbye, guys.
Don't get.
Oh, God.